7 Days to Die has tons of issues, and the 34,719 negative reviews on Steam could leave anyone on edge. A comment section itself is also frequently in the sphere of this negativity. One user saying, "Think it will ever get out of alpha before those old fart FPs kick the bucket? I just hope they'll pass the game on if not, so at least our children, probably grandchildren, will see the full release." Dramatics aside, in today's video, I'll be going over some of this negativity and analyzing where people think the game went wrong. I'll take a look at where the game stands right now and the direction the fun pimps seem to be heading down for this game. Negative feedback isn't always a bad thing, and perhaps it could sway some of you on whether or not to purchase the game. I will say I have enjoyed my 3,000 plus hours in the game and obviously love the concept that it has. So as much as I may agree with some of this negativity, let's just try to keep in mind that we all want to see the game be successful and hopefully leave early access. With that in mind, I would appreciate it if you left a like on the video and maybe we can create some positivity out of the negativity. I can't believe this game is still in early access. It must be some kind of scam. When the heck is this game going to leave alpha, for f***'s sake? 10 years? What? It should be illegal to call your game early access after a literal decade. Why they keep an alpha state and not just release? Posted a celebratory post of 10 years anniversary in early access. Lock the comments on every single post because releasing a game after 10 years. There's a lot of frustration with the game being in early access for so long. Now, how long, you might wonder? It officially came out on Steam in December of 2013. As we are currently in Alpha 21, not even a beta, you can see that we are still in early access for the title. It's understandable so many people are upset with a game that's been in early access for over a decade. But at the same point, what exactly is early access? Well, according to Steam, it means Steam Early Access enables you to sell your game on Steam while it is being developed and provides context to customers that a product should be considered unfinished. Early Access is a place for games that are in a playable alpha or beta state, are worth the current value of the playable build, and that you plan to continue to develop for release. Now, the key here is the plan to develop to release. Over the past decade, the game has been consistently updated basically pretty much to a T. Now, we've had longer years than others, but at the same time, the game has been getting updated. Now, the direction of these updates is what the other segment of the population is mad at, which we will get into later, but the point still stands. Now, before everyone comes at me in the comments, I do agree it has been insane how long this game has been in early access. I do think when games come out, early access environments, it should probably have a roadmap and a time frame for how long that they think they will be in early access. A lot of games do this, but then games like 7 Days to Die don't, and we end up in a decade-long alpha state where the developers are currently developing another game that's going to be titled Blood Moon, and this game isn't done, and everyone's mad about it. We don't have a console version yet either. It's just a big mess of development because there was no roadmap. Let's take a minute to mourn for those poor souls on Kickstarter who thought this game would be done soon as well 10 years ago, and they still thought this game would get a beta. Don't think that's gonna happen. I imagine they're gonna skip the beta probably and go straight to retail. This one's my favorite. That's because the beta isn't out yet. You paid for beta, not alpha, so you wait for beta. You made that choice months ago when you decided it wasn't worth the extra $10. Dude would still be waiting to this day. What do the developers think about this early access problem?
For all these years, I don't understand the desire to say, let's rubber stamp it gold, and therefore it's good, you know? It's an interesting thought there. It's like, you guys must suck because you haven't gone gold yet.
And truth be told, that's what a lot of people think. We've seen it in the comments, in Steam, even back on the Kickstarter page, people were complaining about not getting the beta soon enough. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, but personally, I don't mind waiting because I enjoy the free updates to the game. I paid for this years and years ago for like $25, and I don't mind getting the free updates. There's really not a game like this on the market, which kind of creates the problem. The game can get away with pretty much updating however they want, and there's no competition. At least not for a fully destructible zombie builder game with all the other features that this game has. I've played this game since it left its blocky terrain era, 1,468 hours. The jar and can removal was the final straw. They gutted the game a half dozen times to implement some new thing no one asked for. I knew this game was heading downhill after removing the actual fun mechanics like the mineral ore system. And now when you drink a jar of water, apparently you eat the whole fucking can too. This is the worst game I've ever loved. Stop making a new game every year and actually finish the game. What the F ever, just keep adding the things that have nothing to do with game. Oh boy, Alpha 22. I'm so excited to find out what they are going to majorly change for the worse this time. So, as you can see, a lot of people are not happy with the direction of the game currently, and a lot of those complaints are from the fact that they're changing core systems that have already been changed a bunch of times already in the past. A lot of those systems also worked fine in the moment, so people were questioning why were they changed? Do the devs not know what they want to make? Do they not know what their players want? Are they not communicating with their players? Communication, another huge issue with all of this. The devs want you to have fun the way they intend, so don't bother trying to find a way to save your base. They will waste tons of hours on redesigning their AI to make your method obsolete.
Try to listen to the community as long as what they want aligns with our design sensibilities.
Continuously changing how the game fundamentally works is a pretty clear indication that the devs are just throwing shit at a wall and hoping it sticks, which is really weird because some of that shit was actually really good.
We rely on our team to make those decisions.
Looks like this game has two developers, one trying to make a good game, creating nice 3D models, interesting new locations, fixing balance, adding new features, and one who's trying to shit all over.
Designs that we think are very important to everyone, the team, the players, and our goal is always to try to do what's best for the game.
Now, I'm not showing all of this to shit on the developers for not listening to the community as much as they could have. I'm showing it because it's been a common theme throughout the game's development, even all the way back in the Kickstarter. But despite all of this, people still want to come back to the game and play. The game is doing extremely well. Upon release, the game was averaging around 10,000 concurrent players back in 2014, but nowadays the game is averaging all the way up to 40,000. And this is with the slower alpha release schedule comparative to the beginning of the game where we would get 5 alphas in 1 year. So this lack of communication doesn't really seem to be hindering players from coming back to the game. They still want to check out the new content whenever it gets dropped, and this number of players coming back keeps compounding each time an alpha is dropped, at least for the last 3. So what's causing all these players to leave? Well, it could be the optimization, which is another huge problem the game has. Oh boy, what a journey. 3 save files got ruined and corrupted from what I can tell was spaghetti coding devs. I've got decent specs, got a 2060 Super with an i7 CPU, probably 30 hours lost over the journey. Falling through the map, file gone, random crash, file gone. Game engine is shit that it can't even hold stable 60 FPS on RTX 4070 Ti. Unplayable. Get it in a sale, expect poor performance unless you have a supercomputer. I'm not a code-enabled guy, but much performance could be mitigated with a new engine. They really need to bump up the minimum specs at this point. The game is not optimized one bit, and I'm sick and tired of people telling me otherwise. Don't tell the player base we don't know what we are talking about.
Performance is important to us. Once the artists can stop making content, they can actually optimize that content.
A moderator on the forum summed it up as such. The game is CPU and probably cache or data path bound in some situations, not GPU bound, and it is dependent on a graphics library that is not optimized for their case. A chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Now in the case of 7 Days to Die, the CPU is the weakest link. Whatever you do to the GPU, the CPU is the weak link and it is running at full speed already. So from what I can gather, with new items, armor, zombies, vehicles being added to the game constantly in each new alpha, we won't be getting an optimized game for a while, until the devs decide on the direction of the game. New stuff is going to continually be added, changed, and renovated to need more optimization consistently. The only difference now is the game is being pushed to come out on consoles, which should be able to make the devs develop more on the performance side of things. While I totally understand the frustrations of many of the player base that have lost progress, died, fallen through the world, etc., the game is stable, as they love to say in their patch notes. And with the console release mentioned earlier, their standards for being optimized are going to have to improve in the future to be stable on console. What solutions do we have now, though, when it comes to optimizing your game to perform better? Besides obviously upgrading your CPU, a lot of people suggest moving your game onto a solid-state hard drive and making sure you have enough memory active to use the game. Besides fixing your game, though, what can we take away from all this negativity? We know people hate early access, hate the lack of optimization, hate the lack of communication from the developers, and the fact that console has been left in the dust behind everything. Now, that's not everything everyone's upset at, but it's a vast majority of the complaints that I see on the forums, on Steam, and on my own channel. I think what we can take away from all this is that people just want to see the game be successful, and they would like to see the game go back to more of its roots in general. A lot of people aren't happy with the direction of the game currently and aren't happy with the direction of the game after Alpha 21. Now, until Alpha 22 does drop, we won't know how mad people are at it, but from right now, the perception is pretty negative in terms of the lack of bandits being added and the terms of the supposed clothing overhaul. Now, for those that are angry at early access, the developers have released what they want to have in the finished product of the game. It's finally been announced, a roadmap of some sort for the game. Now, this roadmap has no dates and no endpoint, but we do have some actual words. Now, taking us all the way back to the Kickstarter days, we can go and see what they promised in the beginning of the game's inception. Fiery background and all, a lot of money was raised for this game, and a lot of features were promised. And a lot of this stuff's been taken out and re-added to the game throughout time, but a lot of it is still in the game now. What people actually invested into has been kind of completed. A more accurate version of these claims has been posted on the forums, and which have been completed and which haven't been, and you can take a look at that. I'll link it below. But in reality, it's hard to argue that the game hasn't completed a lot of its milestones. If you're still upset with the game and angry at the fact the game's in early access still, it's okay to come back to the game later and hope it's done. Now, is it going to be done anytime soon? I doubt it. But some of these comments are just downright cruel. And it might be time to take a step back from early access games in general, if that's you. Regardless, the game does have a ton of positive reviews that outweigh those negative ones we've been talking about all day. It seems like people that haven't been with the game since the beginning are enjoying what the game is now. The overwhelmingly vast majority of people do love the game, including myself. The whole point of this video is to let you know before you purchase the game what the segment of the population that doesn't like it is really upset about. And for those of you that already own the game, let me know in the comments what you don't like about it, what you think needs improved, or something I forgot to mention. I'm sure there's plenty of that. With all that said, I hope I earned your subscription and you will continue to come back for more 7 Days to Die content. I'll see you in that next video.